Hi everyone, it's Carissa at Sprinkled with Glitter. I'm here with a card project for you today. I'm going to be using this stamp set. It's from the Penny Arcade card kit, as well as these cute little kind of star sequin wood veneers. And I wanted to show you the rest of the stuff that comes in the Penny Arcade card kit. I don't actually end up using this pattern paper on this card project, but I think it's kind of nice to see what all you get in the card kit when it comes. So I want to kind of stick with the cloud theme, and I want to do one of my favorite card things to do is kind of have a Project Life sized 3x4 card in the middle of my A2 card. But this time I want to have an element hanging off of that. So I'm going to show you how I do this. I'm going to start out with some Neenah Solar White cardstock, and I'm going to cut it to 4 inches by 4 inches. Now a Project Life pocket card is usually 3x4, but because that element's going to be hanging over the edge, I'm going to cut it to 4x4 now, and then I'll cut that other inch off later. So I'm just marking off that 3-inch mark on my paper, and then I'll just draw a pencil line down that 3-inch mark, and then I know what kind of area I have to work within to create that 3x4-inch card. So I wanted to show you the sketch that I'm going to be kind of working on, and you can see how that cloud kind of overhangs, and then there's a sentiment at the bottom. So this is kind of what I'm going off of. That kind of gives you an idea of where we're headed with this card. And I'm just going to grab the cloud stamps from the stamp set, and I'm going to position them onto the cardstock where I think I want them. And then once I get them positioned, I can pick them up with my stamp press, and then that allows me to stamp both of them together. I'm going to ink these up in some Avery Elle Sea Glass ink. It's one of my favorite blue inks, and it is a pigment ink, so you do have to there are some rules with pigment inks. They take a little longer to dry, so you'll see me hit this with a heat tool later. But for now, I'm just inking these up really well. They go on kind of nice and thick and paint-like. And then I'll stamp those clouds down onto my cardstock piece. Now, you'll notice I don't really get a great impression on that larger cloud. That's okay. I just removed the smaller cloud, re-inked the large cloud, and then stamped that again. And then I had a really nice image for that cloud. Now this smaller stamp I end up stamping along with that larger cloud up there, but I had to cut it out because my big old melon head keeps getting in the way of the camera. Next I'm just going to cut this little banner piece out. It comes in the kit, that die comes in the kit. And then I got the You Make Me Smile sentiment from the stamp set, and I'm just going to stamp that down. And you'll see again here my big old melon head in the way. So this keeps happening throughout the video, so I do apologize for that, but moving on, I have these circles that come in the stamp set as well. And so I'm going to stamp those kind of randomly, like they're kind of raindrops falling, and you can see those done there. Once again, I cut it out because my head was just covering the whole shot anyway. And this is where I'm going to hit it with the heat tool to make sure that that is nice and dry before I go and cut this. Now with my trimmer, I am just going to push that blade right up to the card, or to the cloud, and then I'm going to lift the blade. I'm going to go to the other side of the cloud, I'm going to press it down, and then I'm going to cut the rest of the way. Now that cross kind of beam on the blade shows me where that blade actually starts, so that allows me to get a nice good cut there, and you can see that that's what I'm left with. So now I'm just going to take a pair of scissors and trim out that area where the cloud is overhanging, and I'm just going to leave a nice little white border around the cloud. And to cut this, I'm just moving the paper more than I am my scissors, and that helps me get a nice cut. Now here's where a dye ink would have been better for this project. I am now erasing that pencil line that goes right through my cloud, but I'm erasing my ink along with it. So I ended up having to stamp this cloud yet another time onto this card project, but that's okay. In the end, it all worked out. So now for this sentiment piece, this banner along the bottom, I'm actually going to put a double layer of foam adhesive along the left side where it's going to be on top of that cloud piece that I'm making, and then a triple layer of foam adhesive on the right side, the side that's going to hang off of that piece. I decided I wanted to try to use this little smiley face on my cloud, and it takes a really light touch. I'm inking it up with some VersaFine ink, and then I just stamped it onto my cloud. And then the same dots that I used for the raindrop, I just inked those up in Blush Crush Color Theory ink and stamped those down for some cheeks on my cloud. My card base is Neenah Solar White. It's cut to 4 1/4 by 11, and I just scored it at 5 1/2. And then I'll use my bone folder to make sure I have a really nice crease. And I needed my card base to kind of see how this was all coming together and see how it was going to work. And then also I wanted to stamp more of those clouds behind this piece as well, like they're peeking out behind. So I have that piece laid down, and I'm just kind of roughly marking the corner. And then I'm going to stamp a couple more of those clouds kind of peeking out from behind that piece onto the card base. And then once I got that larger cloud stamped, I went ahead and took the smaller stamp again and stamped it kind of below that large cloud on the right. And once I put that main piece onto the card, these will peek out. You can see it there. And so I thought it would be fun now to add these wood veneer kind of star sequins. They're kind of like a sequin because they have a hole in the middle. So I'm just scattering these where I want them. And then I used some multi-medium in the matte finish to adhere those to the front of the card. You can see I used my quick stick for the first two, and the gooey green stuff was sticking to one of my stars, so I used my fingers there on the end. So once I had this all kind of adhered, I thought it needed something to help it jump off of the card base a little bit more, so I just cut a piece of black cardstock to 3 1/4 by 4 1/4, and I mounted my cloud piece on that with some foam adhesive, and then I used some just regular tape runner adhesive to adhere that black piece to the front of my card. And there is my finished card project today, kind of a fun little surprise element with that cloud hanging over the side of the card piece in the middle. You can see more pictures and get more information over at my blog at sprinkledwithglitter.com. I also have links to all the products used in this project in the description at YouTube, as well as over at my blog. Thanks for stopping by. I hope you have a fabulous day.